All right, let's just rip the band-aid off. It's June. At the time of this current recording, I'm just redoing the intro super quick because this was bad. I did not at all mean for this video to come out this late. It's probably not gonna be this late in the future. Um, so yeah, in this video, I'm gonna be ranking every piece of media that I experienced in the month of April 2025. And again, this is late. The May video should probably be out next week, if not 2 weeks at max. And I'm also going to be changing the format of the visuals on screen because it's easier to to do it this way. So as you can see, there's going to be a little box on screen right now that's going to show you how many entries we're going to be talking about. Then everything else should be pretty much the same. And then at the end of the video, there will be the same box you see here where it's all black, but with all the series on top of it. And basically all this is really doing is changing what used to be a big profile picture on this screen and on the ending screen. And then throughout the actual part of the list, the screen will look less cluttered because I'm not going to keep the little box up in the top right. So hopefully this makes it easier for myself in the future. I'm going to go ahead and just hand it back off to past me to go over all the stuff. This sucked. Putting this list together sucked. Because a lot of them are basically like in groups where I have some 10 out of 10s, some 9 out of 10s, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. But I don't think anything was really bad. And with that also being said, I really don't have all that much to say about most of these. Mainly because I have a lot to say about some of the later entries, so we're going to kind of speed run this one a little bit. The worst piece of media that I consumed this month ends up being Punishing Great Raven Chapter 2. And again, this sucks. It's a real shame that it had to be at the very bottom spot because I still enjoyed this. My thoughts on chapter 2 are pretty much the same as they were for chapter 1, where it's just good. I'm not super invested in the world or the characters yet, but it's totally fine. I don't find it to be actively bad or anything. And seeing how after you finish chapter 2 you unlock the hidden story for chapter 1, I think that's just really cool. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna work through that with the mosaics, but I'll figure it out as I go, I guess. And then also when I was doing polls, I got the Mermaid Mommy, so I'm gonna be using her on my team comps from now on. Moving up in the world a bit, we have the truly only Limbus Company entry on this list. There's a lot of Limbus Company. But the worst part of Limbus Company that I got through this month ended up being Intervalo 3. This is the Christmas one, and again, I just thought it was mostly fine. Around this time, I did start having more stock in Heathcliff as a character, not so much Don Quixote. So seeing those two take the spotlight was a mixed result. I didn't find the antagonist enjoyable. Again, what do you want me to say? It was fine. Moving away from Limbus Company to Never Return Surely, at number 11, I have Class of '09. This was just kind of fun. It was goofy, it gave me a couple of laughs, but I do find it to be a rather interesting kind of time capsule of like seeing this group of people talk about things that back then would be quote quote okay. And obviously I'm kind of exacerbating the idea here a little bit because there's some stuff that's just straight up not okay in there, even for the time. But I did find most of the characters to be, at the very least, fun to laugh at. And Nicole herself is a really fascinating character to me. I think that the author did a really good job of demonizing her, but not quite enough to make you actively hate her and root against her. You can't really root for her either. Nicole's not a good person. She's just surrounded by even worse people. So she's kind of rootable, I guess. But regardless, I do really enjoy Nicole as a character, and she's far and away the best character in the story. And right above that, I mean, it's literally just the same thing, but better. It's Class of '09, the re-up. Dog, what do you even want me to say? It's literally just more Class of '09, but it's slightly better. That's it. Moving on to a bit of a string of Limbus Company here, we have Intervalo 4. This is going to be the one with Bamboo Hatted Kim, and I enjoyed this one a lot. I think that Bamboo Hatted Kim himself was just a really cool fight. I just really enjoyed that, and his aesthetic in general is really cool. But also for me personally, because I started Limbus Company with pretty much using the Blade Lineage Salsu kind of grouping or group of IDs, I guess, with Marisol, Faust, and Isong, and Don Quixote, I guess. But they've been my main team throughout pretty much the entire time I've been playing Limbus Company. Getting to fight Marisol was cool. And in addition, one thing I want to mention is that whilst I didn't finish Distortion Detective, and I still haven't, I did find that they tied it in to be really, really cool, and I love that about Project Moon. Once I fully catch up to Project Moon, that's going to be Distortion Detective, and then the Intervalos. Maybe I'll wait until after Canto 8. I'm going to do a Can't Over Yap video specifically about Project Moon, so look forward to that, because I have so much to gush about. The series is so fucking incredible, dude. But let's continue to talk about Limbus Company, because it is just that fucking good. At number 8 on my list, I have Intervalo 2. And again, this was just really, really good. I think it did an excellent job of setting up for Canto 5, getting to see kind of the disparity between how Ishmael was prior to this and then in this. It was really great and kind of jarring at first, but once you kind of see the narrative through line, you can kind of see that it's been building up. And seeing Ishmael's really vehement apprehension about coming here was just really awesome, dude. And it really endeared me to her character. I also really enjoyed the Beach of Volibear quote from Don Quixote. That's just fucking hilarious to me. And the scene with Heathcliff basically telling Ishmael that he kind of laments this idea that he thought that she would be any different from him when she wasn't. I loved that scene, man. That scene was really great, especially considering what would happen later on in Canto 5. Moving up to a slightly better version of that, I have Intervalo 5. And this is the last Intervalo to talk about, thank God. Time Killing Time. This was really, really great. To me, this was basically a Canto 2 part 2. Seeing Rhodia get some development and some character focus is awesome. Rhodia is a character who I've really enjoyed throughout pretty much the entirety of Limbus Company. I think she's still probably in my top 5 centers right now. This gave me reason to justify that, so I was really happy about that. The enemy this time around was really cool, the main antagonist, and the general plot of this was actually really good. I think that this is, well, at the time of this recording, it is now the second best Intervalo, but for what is counted for April, this is the best Intervalo in Limbus Company for me. But don't worry, guys, we're not out of Limbus Company just yet, because at number 6 on my list, I have Canto 4. And Canto 4 is great. I think that the only issue that I really have with it is that I didn't connect with Isong as much as I wish I did. The whole concept of his character with the mirror world and him seeing these quote-unquote perfect wings on the other side of the mirror through his ideal self is really awesome. And him kind of coming to this understanding that even though this mirror is to a parallel world, at the end of the day, it's still a mirror. It reflects reality. So him seeing these perfect wings on the back of Song Yi showed him that he can have those wings too. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. And all in all, it was just really great. But again, I just didn't connect as much with Yi Song as I wish I did. And then Dong Rang and Dong Baek were both just good characters. I don't find either of them to be super particularly noteworthy, to be honest. Like, they were good antagonists, don't get me wrong, but then I think about the antagonists of Canto 5, Canto 6, even Canto 7 so far, to be more noteworthy than they were. Although the dueling part of the Dong Baek fight was really fun because I didn't realize what was happening because I didn't read. And then I read it and I was like, oh, that's why I suck. Okay. Now number 5, and this is going to be the quickest one on the entire list. I have Honkai Impact 3rd, Chapter 24. Why is it this high? Because it led up to Chapter 25. That's it. That's why it's this high. Because Chapter 25 we'll talk about, and this led up to it. Now, number 4, I have The Summer You Were There, a Yuri manga that was very, 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 very sad. Even though around the middle way point in the manga, I did have a really strong idea of what the ending would be, and I ended up being correct, so I felt pretty good about myself for that. It was still a really great ride. The main dynamic here is really, really fun, and in general, if you just want to read a Yuri, it's great. If you want to read just a romance in general, it's pretty good. Just, bring some tissues with you because it's a pretty rough read, man. Now for number three, and this sucked because coming into this list, the top two were super definitive. Whilst this is still really damn good, it's not on the same level as the others. So at number three, I have Canto 5 in Limbus Company, and Ishmael's journey is fucking incredible. The parallels to her and Ahab I found to be really, really great. The whole waves system throughout our area here is just so cool. The Great Lake and how all these different patches of water have different rules and all the colors in them. It's so cool, man. Seeing the absolute scale of the actual whale itself was really awesome. And then obviously going into the whale was cool. Seeing Ishmael's backstory was as incredible as literally any other Project Moon backstory is. And the trio fight is still so far the most fun I think I've had in any boss fight in Limbus Company so far, outside of maybe a certain boss fight in Canto 7 that I won't name. Regardless, the trio fight in Canto 5 I found to be really, really fun. And obviously the scene, again, that stuck out the most to me, as I kind of alluded to earlier, was Heathcliff bringing Ishmael back. I just really love their dynamic, dude. Not even in, like, the ship kind of way, just their dynamic in general, I just really, really enjoy. But alright, like I said, the top two is really tough. This sucks, because I could put either of these at number one and be satisfied. The problem is I could not put either of them at number two and be satisfied, because neither of these entries deserve to be number two. Both of these entries should be number one on any given list. And straight up, I agonized over this, because both of these entries are the peak of their series for me. But one of them is a much more self-contained story than the other one is. And surprising to myself, I ended up going with that one for number two. So at number two, I have Canto 6 from Limbus Company. And again, this should be number one. I fucking loved Canto 6. This is the best part of Limbus Company for me so far. I would not say that it's quite to the heights of Library of Ruina, but it was still so fucking good, dude. From start to finish, it was incredible. Around the time of Canto 6, I had started growing stock in Heathcliff as a character, and he more than delivered in this. Seeing him truly break and literally distort was so fucking awesome. The whole Earl King and him literally having this goal to kill every single Heathcliff in existence in an effort to make every single Catherine happy is the exact kind of what the fuck tragic love story I'm looking for. And one thing I really appreciate is that we're not following the Earl King's point of view. You would think that this multi-dimensional traveler who's going through all these different dimensions and killing all the different Heathcliffs would be the perspective character, but we're just one of the Heathcliffs. I thought Catherine was also just a really fun presence throughout. I mean, the other guys are whatever, I guess. They were fine. Matt in particular was cool, though. I did enjoy Matt. I did find Nellie to be a particularly interesting character. Kind of similar to what I was talking about with Bamboo-Headed Kim and Marisol. I've been running the maid Ryoshu on my team for a long while, so getting to see the ID for the character was just really cool. The song Through Patches of Violet has absolutely ruined me. I've listened to that shit on repeat. It's just such a good fucking song. And one thing that I really appreciate about this canto is how much it deviates from the other ones. For example, just talking about the ones that we had here, cantos 4, 5, and 6. At the end of Canto 4, Yisong really got this confidence in him that he could have this potential to have these wings. Ishmael realized that her blind obsession was something that she could have the opportunity to overcome, and she does. Heathcliff, it's just depressing, man. Like, he doesn't have a happy ending. Heathcliff is so far the only Kanto that had a really fucking sad ending. The whole meta commentary too with the clear all Kathy was just a really unique idea. And honestly, this Kanto gave me some fucking Umi Neko vibes, dude. I won't lie. All in all, Kanto 6 is an absolute fucking masterpiece. And to be completely frank, at the time of this recording, so obviously I'm not going to talk about the actual Kanto until May, I've been playing through Kanto 7. I binged pretty much all of it today, except for the dungeon at the very end. And so far, Kanto 6 absolutely demolishes Kanto 7. But again, Kanto 6 is just so fucking incredible. Heathcliff is 100% in my top two centers. It's close between him and Faust. I'm not gonna get into the fucking Heath versus Faust thing right now, especially considering the fact that at the time of April I had not done the Warp Train Intervalo yet, but we will be talking about that in the May video. I'm really excited to talk about that. But yeah, this is fucking incredible. It should have been number one. But instead, number one goes to Honkai Impact 3rd, Chapter 25. And again, this was really tough because as a self-contained story, Chapter 25 is nowhere near as good as Kanto 6. Chapter 25 of Honkai Impact 3rd is everything I've wanted from a Honkai Impact 3rd chapter. This shit was fucking incredible. The emotions were at their highest. Kiana was at her best. Himeko was at her best. Bronya was at her best. Fuhua was at her best. Literally everybody I could think of was at their best. Everybody who played a role in this chapter was at their best in this chapter. Kiana's a character who I've been very mixed on throughout her journey, but I can confidently say that Kiana is a fucking incredible character. And the reason that I can say that is because of Chapter 25. The whole idea of Kiana wanting to give this sad story a happy ending was really incredible. The idea of her truly accepting what happened way back when, I'm talking around spoilers, it was just great. Her finally coming to accept what happened was great. The mentorship and the dynamic between Kiana and Himeko was great. The whole Moon Halo sequence at the end was great. Everything about this chapter was fucking great. So the problem then became, well, what do I value more? Do I value the peak that was Kiana, or do I value Heathcliff's individualized journey? And I ended up going with Kiana here because this has been, for me, like 2 years, I think, in the making since I started Honkai Impact 3rd, maybe 3 years. And it was just genuinely incredible to see this. Honkai Impact 3rd, Chapter 25 is fucking incredible. It's by far the best that Honkai Impact 3rd has been for me so far. And will be for a while, because I don't know when I'm going to get back to Honkai Impact 3rd. I got through a pretty good portion of it throughout these past few months, and I think I'm going to put it on the back burner for a bit, and then once I decide I want to come back to it, I'll have Thus Spoke Apocalypse, or Thus Spoke the Apocalypse, whatever it's called. I'll have that to look forward to. But that's it. That's all the media that I consumed this month, and if you think about it, it was literally The Summer You Were There, Punishing Grey Raven Chapter 2, Class of '09, and Limbus Company. Honkai Impact 3rd. That's it. So, when you look at it like that, it wasn't that much, but I did get through a pretty healthy portion of all of them. As for next month, I don't know exactly what is going to take the most priority. I did mean to finish an Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint arc, but I'm not quite to the halfway point of that yet, so I'll probably have that one in May. I'm probably going to do another Punishing Grey Raven chapter. Kanto 7 will definitely be on the next one, as well as the Warp Train Intervalo. ReZero Season 3 will be on the next one, as well as the Spice and Wolf remake. I think that's currently the only ones that I have a really solid idea on. But that's about all I've got for you guys for now. So, as always, take care, y'all.